What if the way we prepare women for pregnancy, birth, and recovery is fundamentally broken, not because of bad intentions, but because we've underestimated what pregnant and postpartum bodies are actually capable of? Today's guests come from two high performance worlds that rarely collide: elite entertainment production and elite strength training. One helped shape some of the biggest moments in pop culture history, and the other built her body and her career through professional dance, strength training, pregnancy, loss, and recovery. Together, they're challenging fear based narratives and redefining what prenatal and postnatal fitness can look like when it's medically informed, emotionally intelligent, and genuinely empowering. And now you can watch some of the select workouts from their platform on our Informed Pregnancy Plus streaming channel. Because the way we support movement in pregnancy has lasting effects on birth, recovery, and the entire postpartum experience. I'm pregnancy focused chiropractor Dr. Elliot Berlin, and you're listening to the Informed Pregnancy Podcast. Alex Redelico and Dara Cook, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank
My
you. So happy to be
pleasure.
here.
I'm super excited about what you're doing. I have a practice all day, every day, full of patients who are pregnant or recently had a baby. And during pregnancy, one of the most common frustrations I see is I don't know what I can do workout wise when I'm pregnant. I want to exercise, even if I'm not really an exercise person, or even if I am an exercise person, then I want to work out even more while I'm pregnant. But I see all the time, I'm not really sure what I can do, what I can't do. If you go online, you read all sorts of things. You can't even look north if you look online because who knows what that could do. And so when it comes to exercise, I see the frustration because my patients tell me if I could afford a prenatal trainer a few times a week, I would go get one, but I can't do that either. So I end up under exercising or being afraid to exercise at all. And you guys are changing all of that. I want to get into the programming that you're doing and how you came to it and how people can find it. But let's start at the beginning with your backgrounds. Dara, you are not a parent, but you're
No.
deeply invested in maternal health. What drew you into this space?
Yeah, so it was really three things that came together: my professional life, my passion, and my personal life. So, on the professional life side, I started my career at MTV. So, yes, I went from MTV to maternal health. And at MTV, I was a producer on the original TRL with Carson Daly. I'm aging myself. I was head creative of the MTV Video Music Awards for years, including many of the iconic moments there. I was brand manager of Nick Cannon's Wild 'N Out, and I learned how to produce great content there. And then my passion was fitness. So at one point pre-pandemic, I was a member of five different gyms. And what I was seeing in those gyms, and those span from high end like Equinox all the way down to YMCAs and community health centers, was all of a sudden around 2015, I started to see a bunch of pregnant women in group fitness classes. And I noticed that across the board, they were being underserved. So I would see in Equinox where people paying hundreds of dollars a month, a group fitness instructor say in the middle of a class, "Oh no, you in the third trimester, you shouldn't be doing this. I'm gonna come up with something else for you," etc. So I realized that there was a gap between what pregnant women were seeking and the solutions that were out there. And then in my personal life, my sister was pregnant with her first child over the age of 35, which we all know
Oh, the
increases.
horror.
Yes, the horror. The old geriatric pregnancy, as they used to call it. And her OBGYN said to her, "You need to exercise to reduce your risk factors." And my sister listened to her doctor and she exercised throughout her pregnancy. And I was there the night that she went into labor. And it was so fast, her husband could barely park the car. The OBGYN on call was in the room for 15 minutes. When she walked out, she looked back at my sister and she said, "Did you exercise?" And my sister said, "Yes. My doctor told me to." And the physician said, "I noticed that women who exercise have labors like this." And that's when everything came together. And I realized at that point that labor had defied my expectations, pun intended, of what
Ah,
a labor of someone who was 35 plus with their first child would be. I thought that I would be able to go home, go to sleep, and come back and she'd still be in labor. That wasn't the case. And when I got home after our whole family enjoyed my beautiful niece, who's now 8 years old, I looked at the research and saw that what the OBGYN on call said was not anecdotal, that there have been years and years of research that show that maternal fitness, which means exercising in pregnancy and postnatal, reduces the risk of everything from premature birth to postpartum depression by double-digit percentages. And I realized at that moment that it was going to be my life's mission to make it easy, safe, and fun for women and their babies to reap the vast benefits of maternal fitness. And that led me to bring my professional life of creating content, my passion for gyms, and the story of my sister and my personal life as a beacon to create Expect, which is now the only prenatal, postnatal, and pelvic floor fitness platform where every workout has been approved for safety by practicing physicians.
well, that's quite a trifecta of different points coming together to lead you to
Indeed.
this one spot, very specific spot. Maternal training is so important. Like you said, I was a doula for a long time, and
Oh, that's so
Love
cool.
that.
yeah,
That's awesome.
if you Google doula, my face never shows up, even on the last O. I'm not the poster child for doula, but but you do. You see, I think a combination of people who are pretty fit, as long as they're not too tight, you generally have a great birth experience, or at least they're set up for a much better birth experience. And again, the problem is, where can you get the training? Even people very comfortable working out sort of get nervous. The way we treat pregnancy is such a delicate thing, even if you're under the 35-year-old age.
Right.
Also, there, I love the pun intended. This is, you're speaking to me as a dad now. Uh, I can relate to
I,
Dad jokes, mom
right.
dad
jokes,
jokes.
I have
Yeah,
auntie jokes.
auntie
auntie
jokes.
jokes,
Yeah, my
exactly.
Yeah.
kids have recently told me 1 in 300
Mm,
lands, and then
Okay.
I gotta start again.
Well, at least
right.
that's
So
I mean,
one.
it's 299 eye
it's not
rolls for
as,
one
yeah,
laugh.
exactly. Better than 1 in 500, I
I actually think
guess.
there should be like almost a governmental agency in maternal fitness, and if there is, we should call it the Maternal Training Board, and you should be the president of it. And well, it'll be MTB, MTB.
Yes.
We can have the MTB awards
I
every
love
year.
it. I love it.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
I love that.
See, I'm a
File
I
it
dad.
out.
think you're on to
MTB. Yeah.
something.
Love this. Love this.
All right, Alex, your roots are totally different. Professional dance and then strength training. And how did that come together with your passion for pregnancy?
Well, passion for pregnancy it is. I actually am very lucky to love being pregnant and having been pregnant. I will hope to be pregnant for a third and final time. But it really did become a passion from my passion for dance, which led into me recognizing that in order to stay healthy in my dance career and injury free, or at least heal from injuries at a more rapid rate, I had to maintain a strong body and build my muscle mass. And I needed to cross train, if you will. Like a lot of dancers only dance, and that's fine. But at some point, you realize that you get injured doing very dance specific things. And if you cross train and add in strength training, lifting weights, a little bit of hit and power training, that is not the case. And that definitely goes, your rate of injury gets much less. And I experienced that personally. And so I kind of, once I sort of phased out of my professional dance career after I did a few tours and a bunch of regional work, I sort of made my way into the fitness. There was a slight transition time, but I made my way into the fitness realm and really fell in love with helping myself, helping others that were dancers. And then eventually it took me some time actually to get into the prenatal postpartum world of fitness. I was training moms and moms to be before I even got pregnant myself.
Well,
But
that's
it,
cool.
yeah, it was awesome. I had certifications, which was great, but it also, you can't really understand what it's like, even though I had all the, like, no, this is safe, or like, no, try this or adapt this, or until you feel it yourself, there really is nothing that compares to the knowledge that you gain from it, the experience of being pregnant.
It's
So
interesting
it
that you
made
say
me,
that. I have a new series that we have on Informed Pregnancy Plus right now,
Mm,
the Growing series, and we follow women through their pregnancy week by week that each have an interesting
awesome.
story. And one of them is called Growing with Hee Hee, and her name is Haley
Mm,
Stewart. Her nickname is Hee Hee,
okay.
and she was a doula for 10 years before she had her first baby. And
Oh, wow.
so we track her through the entire pregnancy week by week, and it's really interesting to watch her experience for the first time firsthand
Yeah.
everything that she's been coaching people through for 10 years and how it's like, well, I've seen this in my clients dozens and dozens of times, but to feel it is totally different. So what you're saying makes a
Wow.
lot
A
of
hundred
sense.
percent. Yeah.
What type of dance? How old were you when you got into dance in the first place?
I was like 10, probably. Like
Oh,
I was
late.
really into, yeah, super late, super late. I was
Geriatric
being
dance
a
kid.
geriatric dancer. But in the grand scheme of like the dance world, I wasn't like a kid who was like, oh, my mom had me in dance from the age of 3. I did take a little bit longer to fall in love with it. I did gymnastics for a long time growing up. Like I tried every hobby, horseback riding, all these things. And then I really landed, I fought my mother because my mother was a dancer. And so she kept pushing me to be, and I was like,
Wait.
no. And then finally, and finally, I was like, okay, fine. So I started dancing more seriously around like 12, 13. And then I really fell in love with it around, it took a few years, like 16, 17. And I was like, oh, I think this is what I want to do with my life. So,
Was
you
there a
know, as
particular
little,
genre you were focused on?
yes, I started in concert dance, like ballet, modern, contemporary. And then once I moved to New York and realized there was not a lot of job opportunities, especially ones that could afford me the lifestyle to live in New York and actually pay for my rent, I quickly kind of switched. I also sang a little bit and wasn't as strong of a singer as a dancer, but I worked on it and I became more of a singer so that I could audition for more
Musical
musical
theater?
theater. Hmm.
Ah,
And so I wound up being more in the musical theater field. I was privileged enough to tour with West Side Story a few times, which
oh,
was
cool.
like the dream. Yeah, it was awesome.
I
Internationally and nationally.
Wow.
Yeah,
There's
it was
two
great.
things you probably don't know about me. Number one, I'm a theater major.
Yes, that's awesome.
And number two, I used to be a big dancer. Uh,
Oh, what
yeah.
type?
Well, I've only danced probably 3 times in my whole life, but I felt big all 3 times. Uh,
I mean, that is what's important. As long
my
as you
wife likes to
feel
dance, so we
amazing.
did like a salsa class one time,
Mm,
and then with the
great.
kids, we homeschooled for a year, so we did like a hip hop class one time. But literally three
Yeah.
times in my whole life that I can remember dancing, but I did feel big. Okay.
Yeah, and that's what's important.
But I think maybe what I hear you saying is something I also hear from other dancers is that their workout was dance
Yeah.
rather than dancing and also working out some other way.
Yeah. So what I feel is that it's like a lot of professional athletes. I mean, dancers are professional athletes if you're a professional dancer, but any type of athleticism, if you do it all the time, it kind of becomes your baseline. And so it's always a necessity, in my opinion, to no matter what your field is, to strength train on top of that intentionally. With dance, with athletics, you're always kind of single sided. You're never training, oh, I did all this on the right, so I'm going to do all this on the left. Maybe if you take a ballet class, that is true. But in any type of choreography or any type of sports, like look at pitchers and stuff, they're always using like the same mechanics of one side of their body, which is why they're always ending with crazy injuries on one specific side and very specific injuries. And that dictates itself to every type of athlete across the board. And moms are kind of very much lumped into this prenatal, being pregnant is very much lumped into this because you are very much adapting on one side, like your pelvis is shifting, all these things, like your round ligament. I had a ton of round ligament pain. So all these very like sport specific, quote unquote, because being pregnant is a little bit of a is a little bit of a sport. Injuries can come into play. And so you have to train intentionally to avoid those injuries or at least deal with them better if they do come into your path.
Yeah, that makes a lot of
Mm.
sense to me.
Yeah.
All right, I'm already learning. I'm about to learn a lot more. Let's take a little break. When we come back, I'm going to find out how these two powerhouses came together and what it is that you built once you got there. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're talking to Dara Cook and Alex Redelico. Okay, how did you guys meet?
Alex and I met really through MTV. So I shared with a good friend of mine from MTV that I was looking to apply what I had learned at MTV and how to create amazing, compelling content and bring that into the maternal fitness space. And she said, you have to speak to Jillian Ternosky, who, like me, got her start at MTV. And then she went on to the MSG network where she won an Emmy. And Jillian really made her name also in producing fitness content, which is a different mindset than some of the things that I was used to producing. And you're still in a studio, but we would produce events that had dance in it. But fitness is a different animal altogether. And Jillian had that expertise. So she was a producer for live fitness classes on ClassPass and other major platforms. And she said when we started working together, we have to get Alex in. And what was fantastic is that Alex was actually pregnant at the time. So Alex became such a star of our platform. And she's really telling a story because we see Alex pregnant and then she comes back postnatal to teach additional classes. And me coming from the world of media, storytelling is very important. Even if you're doing it through disparate fitness videos, you get to see the journey. And that's what Alex brings.
All right.
Thank you.
That first pregnancy for you was unexpected. Are we back with the puns?
Yes, puns all day. I'll take them. It was, I'd say my very first pregnancy was unexpected. I got pregnant in August of 2020, and it was like, the thrust of the pandemic. And my partner and I lived in a very interesting New York style railroad apartment. And I was like, wait, we can't have a baby in this apartment. We'll kill each other. This is no like space we have a dog. Like there's just too many things. And so it gave us an opportunity to be like, is this what we want? Are we ready to move forward in this way? I was 36 at the time, and we decided, I was 35. If that pregnancy had been viable, I would have been 36 when I had the baby. But I wound up miscarrying. And it actually was very sad and very upsetting, but it also was a blessing in disguise because it gave us an opportunity to kind of wrap our minds around the idea of growing our family and if we were really ready for it. And I found out about 6 weeks in that I had miscarried. And after that, we decided, let's do this. Let's actually try. Let's go for this. I knew that recurrent miscarriages could be an issue. I have a gene mutation called factor V. It just makes me have a higher rate of clotting.
You knew
And
that
so
already?
I did know that because I was very lucky to years previously when I was like 25 or 26, I started losing vision in my left eye. And I thought at first that I just had like scratched my cornea or something. And so I went to my ophthalmologist and he's like, oh, actually you have like elevation in your optic nerve and you have a lot of weird things happening. So, how doctors like to really just with no emotion at all, just say, you might have a brain tumor. He said to me,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. He's like, let's schedule an MRI. I was like, I'm like bawling in his office.
Oh.
He's like, no, it might not be that. And I was like, well, that was a real aggressive conclusion to jump to. So it wound up being that I have this genetic mutation and I wound up with a blood clot in my retinal artery called a central retinal vein occlusion. And it was because I had been on hormonal birth control for a couple years of my life. And with the factor V gene mutation, women really shouldn't be on a hormonal birth control. You should be on a non-hormonal or super low hormone birth control. So I found that out the hard way. But yes, definitely an important blood test to get young women to find out if and when they should be on birth control. But that is the way that I found out that I had this gene mutation. And I also, when reading about it and learning more about it as a 20-something-year-old, I found out that recurrent miscarriages were a part of what could happen if and when I decided to grow our family or become a mom. So when I found out I was pregnant, I kind of had this feeling of like, oh, I need to keep this in mind going forward. So then when I did miscarry, of course I was sad, but I was kind of like, okay, this is potentially par for the course. We just keep trying. And it was a nice soft opening, if you will, into the conversation of, okay, let's actually try for this. And I wound up having an additional miscarriage from like November to December. I miscarried in like early December 2020. But by that time, we'd been like, let's get out of this apartment. We found a new apartment. We moved. We got nice pandemic pricing on our apartment, which was a beautiful thing. And then, yeah, I mean, for New York, it was still absurd, but it's better than it was. And then we got pregnant officially in January of 2021. I found out like late January. And then I had my first official like prenatal appointment in March of 2021. And nope, 2022. Sorry. I'm lying about timelines. 2021. And then I wound up having Benny in 2022. Yeah. I'm a year behind. But
Well,
in
that's
November of 2022, I had our first son on November 1st. Yeah.
it's amazing how you could tell that story in 2 minutes. And
Yeah.
just thinking about all the different stops along the way and emotions, even just the first one, finding out you're pregnant when you weren't expecting it,
Oh, yes.
and
That was
what
a
kind of a,
shock.
and might not have been ready for it, what emotion that is. And then maybe we are ready for it and then you lose it. It's just a roller coaster.
Yeah, it really
Um,
was. Yeah.
did you end up having to take blood thinners during your pregnancy?
Not during, which is a perfect lead into like the reason I didn't have to take blood thinners, even at the, extremely old age of 36. um, I, because I was fit and in generally good health, they did not recommend, even with the genetic mutation, that I take it. All of my numbers were really good. My blood pressure was like low, if anything, like lower than average. And so they said, unless we see a reason to, we don't think you need to be on blood thinners. Postnatal, I was on a blood thinner for 6 weeks, and I got to learn how to use a subcutaneous injection on myself, which was fun. But I did not have to. I just took a single baby aspirin, and that wasn't even necessarily for a blood thinning. It was for to help prevent preeclampsia. So
Sure.
that was on one a day.
No, after a couple of miscarriages, like for some women, I think they'd be more nervous to exercise during a future pregnancy.
Absolutely, yes. So I was, I say, more careful my first trimester until I got the go ahead. But even so, I think because the one thing with pregnancy and information that's out there that I think is worth listening to for sure is that whatever baseline you're at already, I think unless a doctor says otherwise, that it is safe to continue and expand on that your baseline once you are pregnant. So I felt really strong. Maybe I scaled back the weights I was lifting. I scaled back the intensity a little bit, especially in the first trimester. Also, just not to mention anybody who's been pregnant out there knows that the first trimester is rough. So it was a very a come as you are and do what you can do basis. Like some days I was like, I need a nap instead of a workout. And so I would take a 2 hour nap. You have that luxury when you're pregnant with your first baby. The second baby, not so much. So I would definitely listen to that. I would just listen to my body. And if I felt like I could handle a workout or it was what my body needed, then I would do that. And then if not, I would take rest or eat a delicious meal or, like whatever. I just listened to what I felt I needed in that moment. And then once I felt better in the second trimester and was less nauseous and less exhausted and less just the exhaustion isn't the fatigue and exhaustion is just was my most intense symptom of pregnancy, especially in the first trimester. And I got very, very short of breath too. So it was just very bizarre. And funny story, that is how I found out I was pregnant the second time. We live in a fourth floor walk up. And I was like, I think I'm pregnant again because I would walk up the stairs and be like, like have to catch my breath. And that was my symptom of how I found out I was,
Oh,
because we weren't like
interesting.
officially trying with our second. We were like, oh, we're not trying and we're not trying. But definitely that was my first like inkling that I was pregnant with my second was that I could barely walk up our 4 flights of stairs. So once those had subsided, those symptoms, and I felt stronger my second trimester, I really went for it and felt honestly during both second trimesters and into the third even, I felt like a superhero. I was like lifting really easily, felt super strong. I would get out of breath more easily, obviously, but like I just felt so connected to my body and to my the little baby that was growing inside me. It was a really beautiful thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Okay, so for that first birth, did you have sort of a mindset on what you wanted the birth to be like, and did it follow that plan?
Yes, of course, everyone has their birth plan, their loose birth plan it's an LOL to think that you can have to have a birth plan. But my birth plan was, hey, this is what I would like to do. I would like to be intervention free. I would like to have a vaginal birth. I would like to create some sort of ambiance in the hospital room that feels more like an at-home birth because I was way too nervous to have an at-home birth, and a birthing tub in our very small New York apartment would be hilarious. So I was delivering at North Shore University. It's in Long Island in Great Neck. So I knew that I would have my own personal room, which was really important to me. postpartum. And so I was like, I had all these plans for, and within even the delivery room I brought like electric candles and had a playlist and all the stuff. And I got induced and I was 2 weeks post my due date. And I had all these plans in place, for just taking my time and easing in. And even though was being forced to be induced, like just like listening to my body and trying my best not to get any intervention of any kind. And it did not go as planned. I wound up being induced. My body took well to the induction at first, and then I had my water broken, which probably in hindsight was something I should not have done. But it's all hindsight is 2020. So I kind of rushed my body into something it wasn't ready for, and in that time, I wound up getting an infection into like 28 hours of labor. I wound up getting an infection called choreo, and I had to be put on, Tylenol, and I had to get an epidural to like ease the pain because with that infection, the pain of the contraction is just like your uterus becomes so tender that it just like skyrockets. So my contractions felt like they were like a 30 instead of a 2. So yeah, it did not go as planned, but my plan was to be, like super woo woo within a hospital. And that was not the way it went. And it's okay. I've come to terms with it, but it definitely, I had a very loose plan. But my ultimate plan was whatever happens, happens, as long as me and baby are safe, as long as we're supported and are come out of this on the other side, it's okay. Like, and that was kind of, I was leaving it in the hands of the professionals and whoever could get my baby to Earthside safely. But it was definitely a little traumatizing at first. I will not lie.
Right. I mean, that oftentimes, especially I think when you are strong and fit and healthy, and you push your body to perform in all sorts of ways that a lot of us can't, then it seems to be a letdown when it doesn't
Yes.
do what you're wanting it to do.
Yes, I kept saying that it was like an event I was training for. I was like, I got this. I'm literally training for this. I'm doing all of the right things, quote unquote, whatever that means. And it's going to be great. Like, and then, people on the outside are like, oh, it's going to take you 10 seconds to give birth. You're so stressful and stuff. And so like, you get these things, you're like, yeah, it's going to be great. Like, it's going to be smooth, like the easiest birth ever. And it's okay. It's just a very humbling experience. And that, I'm human. Who knew?
I have 2 pregnancy books for you to write. One of them is going to be called Not Trying,
Not
because
exactly.
there's whole
Not trying.
colleges of children
Yes,
from
correct.
from that method. And the other one is Hindsight is 2022.
Yeah. I
I
love
love
that. I
that.
love that.
Thank
Yeah.
you very much. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll find out how round 2 went for you, but then also the Expect app and everything that goes into it and how we can benefit from it. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're talking to Dara and Alex. Alex, I think it's a very unfortunately common birth story that you have, where you have this vision and
Definitely.
you do all sorts of prep, and then you get there and it goes a different way. Everybody grateful that you and the baby are healthy on the other end, but there's also some sort of loss of an experience that you wanted to have to mourn. And I see frequently people feeling let down. How was postpartum for you, post cesarean?
Post cesarean was definitely easier because I was straight. So even though my fitness and all of the things that I did to prepare for the birth of my dreams, didn't pan out, the all the work and training that I did prenatal and before prenatal, like in my non-pregnant life, really helped me recover much quicker, especially from a first cesarean section. It's a really, I know people kind of just brush it off because a it's such a common thing these days to get a C-section, but it is major abdominal surgery and it is a doozy if you don't, especially if it's not what you thought was going to happen. In my brain, like there was no way I was getting a C-section. So I didn't even really have the chance to wrap my mind around how I would handle it if it did happen because I just had put it out of my mind. But my strength and my muscle mass that I had and my movement abilities while being pregnant in every trimester, through every trimester, like all of the work that I did definitely helped me postpartum in recovering much faster. And even though I still had to move much slower, I was much more capable than I expected to be, and that traditionally people are when they experience and have a C-section. So I felt very lucky and very in tune with my body still, even though so many things had happened in my abdomen. I still felt connected to it. I felt like I could still pick up my baby safely and get up out of the bed safely in the middle of the night to feed him. And so I was very grateful for all the work that I had done, even though it didn't necessarily help me in my labor and delivery. It definitely helped me on the other side.
Very cool. I'm sometimes blown away by how quickly people do recover from cesarean birth, and especially if there's a fitness level, how eager they are to get back walking at first and then, exercising more. And actually there's a good number of practitioners here who will check before 6 weeks to see if there's readiness to get back into exercise because not everybody needs 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And I just see some people so eager to get back into their fitness
Too
and
eager sometimes.
sometimes
Sometimes
too
too
eager, but
eager.
sometimes like
I'm like, calm down.
a healthy eager. Yeah, I always
Yeah.
tell because my wife insisted on getting pregnant again our second time before I lost all the weight from the first baby, and then I gave up on it. But she got right back into fitness, and was super healthy and ready for that second baby. So, all right. So during that pregnancy, and again during postpartum, you guys were feverishly working on putting together fitness programs for the Expect app. What was the process of putting together those programs?
The process started with talking to the experts in maternal fitness. So we spoke with initially Dr. Ayman Lee at Harvard Medical School, who is now our medical advisor. And Dr. Lee co authored the biggest studies on the impact of prenatal fitness on preeclampsia and gestational diabetes. And we told her, this is what we're looking to do. Would love your input. And she said, I'm so glad that someone is finally putting the science to work. And she recommended we speak with the head of the American College of Sports Medicine, who thankfully, because of the recommendation from Dr. Lee, took our call. And we asked him, so Dr. Berlin, you talked about what you see in your practice so often is that you see pregnant women who want to work out, whose doctors have told them to work out, but they don't know what's safe to do, right? And these are rightful concerns. So the head of the American College of Sports Medicine talked about the changes that happen in the body in pregnancy, where you would really want to do modifications on your previous fitness programs. And he shared that with us. We realized that there was a there. So we created a process, a medical review process that no other platform has. One of our concerns and we understand why people are in this space of not knowing what is safe, because most of the maternal fitness protocols don't go under medical review. So every workout in Expect goes through an independent review by practicing OBGYNs from different hospital systems. So we can get a variety of perspectives. And so the physicians include OBGYNs, maternal fetal medicine doctors, urogynecologists for the pelvic floor workouts that we have. And these physicians they're brutal. And so they get paid to review. Okay, so they're getting paid the same amount whether they say no to a workout or they say yes. And when we started Expect, very beginning, even before we started shooting original content with Alex and all the other incredible trainers, is that we actually licensed some of the best prenatal fitness content out there. And we found that 50% of it was flagged by our OBGYNs. What a lot of it was flagged for with this is not actually really good in the third trimester, right? That was
Mm,
one of the number one things that came up because of the shifts in the center of gravity. And that's what the head of American College of Sports Medicine talked about. The shift in the center of gravity in pregnancy, how that can increase fall risk. And people have asked us, why did we work with OBGYNs? Well, the OBGYN becomes that first call that you make, right? So if there's something untoward that happens in your pregnancy, so our OBGYNs were very sensitive to anything that may cause someone to call their OBGYN for an issue. So that's the process. So every workout goes under review by the OBGYNs. We have gotten rid of entire exercises because of them. We have edited things out. We have added instruction in. We shoot our workouts live. Someone asked me once, "Oh, you have so many workouts. Did you make them on ChatGPT?" So I thought that was hilarious. I was like, no, they're actual humans in a studio and they're pregnant and they're and they're postnatal. So Expect has humans in the app, and we thought it was really important for us to the cast. And so we have obviously fitness professionals like Alex who are teaching the classes, but we have everyday women who are working out to inspire moms. And we have a broad array of fitness programs. So whether you're focused on cardio, strength, dance, pelvic floor, we have walking workouts. And I know, Dr. Berlin, you talk about women looking to get back, especially walking after a C-section, and we're rolling out that whole program. We have what we believe is the best pelvic floor program. It's called Pelvic Floor Rescue, designed by a board certified pelvic floor physical therapist, approved by a urogynecologist, and women are using that in particular postnatal to prevent symptoms of incontinence. So that's the app in a nutshell. And we looked at some of the really big fitness platforms. I'm not going to name the one in particular, but we have 3 times the prenatal fitness content of that. And just being a small company, we were really able to do it, the shooting of it, and make it so great because of Jillian Tarnowski and instructors like Alex, who has made it so easy and fun.
And I think what you're describing, the expertise that goes into it and the medical guidance that goes into it, kind of helps you take a deep breath and relax and feel confident that this is going to do all the good things you want without doing the bad things you don't want.
Correct.
I don't know, you probably don't know this, but around 12 years ago, I think, I tried to find the solution for my patients who were so frustrated not knowing what kinds of workouts they could do. And I teamed up with a fitness expert and we started a program called Gaga Fit.
Oh, wow.
And the idea was to do group workouts that we could modify depending on your level of fitness and depending on where you were in the pregnancy, the various trimesters or postpartum. And it was coming together really nicely until we got a cease and desist letter from
Lady
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 Gaga.
Gaga.
Gaga. Oh my
I was
gosh.
like,
Of course.
you
Of
own
course.
Gaga? I think it was around before you. And it
Goodness.
referred to babies. Anyway, that whole thing fell apart. We didn't have the oomph
Money
to pick up the
to pay.
pieces and rebrand and do it all over again. So I'm really glad that you have come along and put this together with the Expect. I know you're going to help myriads of people. And is it available around the world?
It is. So
You know what
Expect
that means?
it's
Your
we
pelvic floor program is available in continents.
yes, it is. It is. I know, I love that. Oh,
Thank
the
you.
dad joke. I love
That's
that
just
one. I love it. We're going to use
272.
that. We're going to use that. We actually just got an email from a woman in Italy who is using Expect for pelvic floor rescue. So yes, Expect is available in the Apple Store, the App Store. It's available in the Google Play Store, and it includes pelvic floor rescue. So you see our hundreds of prenatal fitness. And I'm someone who myself, I like variety. So before Expect, the vast majority of prenatal fitness focused on yoga. And to zoom out, pregnancy has a similar impact on the body as running a marathon. Your heart is pumping up to 50% more blood. And when you're thinking about training for a marathon, yoga wouldn't cut it. So, a variety of exercise, including cardio, including strength, especially when you're thinking about reducing your risk of gestational diabetes. That's really, really important. So, that exists on the app, and you can download it immediately from the App Store. And we intentionally have it available as an app because we know the challenges of being pregnant or being a young mom, that transportation and childcare become issues. And we worked with the University of Alabama at Birmingham. We actually have a study ongoing with the University of Alabama at Birmingham. And they have at their facility, and it's one of the greatest academic medical centers in the country, they have a full exercise and pregnancy clinic there. It's got treadmills with extra bars on it to help with balance,
Oh, cool.
etc. But they wanted to work with us because they said the women who need to be here the most, who are at the highest risk of complications, they can't get here because they have to work or they have childcare issues, transportation, etc. They said in the summers in Birmingham, as you can imagine, it's too hot to walk in the street, right? And they say, well, at least you can walk for exercise. Well, not when it's 90 degrees and you've got that advisory on your phone. So what they loved is an opportunity for people to have access to on-demand, medical grade, entertaining, beautifully shot fitness that they can stream on their phones as easy as YouTube. You can play a video on YouTube, you can play Expect, and you can cast it to your screen. So if you have 10 minutes at 5 in the morning, you can work out with us. Whenever you can fit us in, and our pelvic floor rescue is audio based. So you can be, I actually use pelvic floor rescue myself, and I use it on the subway. And no one knows what I'm doing, right? No one can see that I'm
Well, now it's
engaging
going to
my
be weird
pelvic
if I see
floor.
you on the subway.
Yes, I know. Yes. And I have on my
Oh,
headphones and
Dara.
I'm listening to pelvic floor rescue.
You're doing it wrong if they can see you doing
Right,
pelvic floor work.
exactly,
I'm doing Kegels
exactly.
right now.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, I am very impressed by, and we're so honored to host some of the videos on Informed Pregnancy Plus. Grateful that you shared them with us and our audience so they can get a taste for it and then shift over and get the full program through your Expect app. But when we watched the content originally, when we were looking at working together, I was super impressed. And also the feedback already coming in from our subscribers is that the quality is really wonderful. Like they're fun to do because of just the whole thing, the look, the feel, the music, the instructors, the passion from the instructors, and also the people in the background who maybe they can relate to more than the instructors and feel like they can do these workouts and succeed. It's all very, very well done. And your two strengths that each of you bring to it shine and really work well together. And I would say like peanut butter and chocolate, but I don't know if that's the right thing for a fitness app.
That is actually,
Okay,
I
It
think,
perfect.
is.
yes.
Do you have a final thought, either one of you, that you'd like to share?
I just want pregnant women across the board to feel empowered to move. And I hope that this app really helps them be inspired and feel comfortable moving in their pregnant body and in their postpartum body because it's a truly new space that you are going to be moving in. All these women say, oh, I want to get back to how I was. And that's just not realistic. Like, no one will ever get back to how you were. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That is the beautiful thing. We evolve as humans mentally and physically after we have a baby. And it's a really magical experience. It can be a very scary experience as well for a lot of people. But moving makes everything better. I always say movement is magic. And especially through pregnancy, it is what kept me mentally sane through pregnancy, through all the hard times, especially my second pregnancy with a toddler running around. It was like my respite in having a second to regroup and just focus on myself. And I hope that women award themselves that opportunity, either pre-pregnancy, thinking about getting pregnant, while they are pregnant, and postpartum. It is so important. And I think it's not the best thing you can do, one of the best things you can do, whether you're pregnant or not, but especially throughout pregnancy and postpartum.
Well said. I really appreciate both of you for coming on and sharing your backgrounds and sharing your personal stories and what led you to make this wonderful app. Where can we find everything online?
So our website is expect.fit, F-I-T. So instead of .com, it's F-I-T. And you can type into the App Store or the Google Play Store, Expect Fitness, and you will find us there.
I am a New Yorker. I don't really talk like that anymore, but I am a New Yorker. When I go back home and visit New York, I'm going to have a whole new respect for what people are doing on the subway. So thank you for that. And again, thanks for sharing the Expect app and for making this great resource available to pregnant and postpartum people around the world. And at home, thanks for listening to the Informed Pregnancy Podcast. For more pregnancy and parenting information just like this, visit us online at informedpregnancy.com.